All right, everyone. Welcome back to week 2 of the playoffs for the Gym Leader Challenge Circuit. That is the Monotype Draft League hosted by myself and my good friend Central. Make sure to check out Central as well. His channel is below in the description. He posts his matches every week and a bunch of other good content for a variety of Draft League stuff. So definitely make sure to check him out. Also, this is going up a bit late because I was traveling and I'm also a bit sick right now, so my voice might sound a bit weird. But regardless, we are here and we're going to be looking at the two semifinal matches. And in a few days, the finals will also go up. In the description below, there's also a Discord link, which is the link to our server if you want to watch all the stuff play out in real time, as well as watch the second season of the GLCC happen as well, because that is underway right now. But regardless, let's get into it. So the first match we have is going to be myself with Mono Flying versus Blue with Mono Ice. And obviously this is a really tough matchup for me. If you remember from week 4, if you watched that video, if you haven't, go check it out. But I did win due to the grace of the RNG gods, who basically let me get 2 Omni Boosts off of Ancient Power with Articuno, and I basically reverse swept Blue. And this week in playoffs, because it is playoffs, I didn't want to rely on luck, and I wanted to actually try and build a real team that had a shot of winning. So yeah, I mean, I have pace, so we can talk a little bit about the teams, and then we can get into it. So I am bringing a Choice Scarf Masquerain, which in hindsight, this is a really bad bring. There's no reason for me to Choice Scarfed, considering my moveset is Foul Play, U-Turn, Sticky Web, and Tailwind. I definitely should have been Focus Sashed, but it is what it is. We have Max Special Attack, Max Speed. I am a Choice Specs Gardecuno, Terra Steel, Max Defense, Max Special Attack. And this EV spread is a little interesting, but it will make sense with what I have later. But the Max Defense is so that I can take hits better from things like Bax. And I am Terra Blast, Ancient Power again, Recover, and Trick. My next mon is going to be a Weakness Policy Enamorous with Agility. So the idea is to get up an Agility, get off my Weakness Policy from a Ice Shard or something like that, and then sweep with Moonblast, Mystical Fire, Focus Blast, almost max speed and max special attack. We are a Mirror Armor Corviknight with boots, with Body Press, Iron Head, U-Turn, Defog, pretty standard Corviknight set. Mixed defensive, some special defense. We are a Choice Scarf Zapdos Adamant because I wanted the damage. With Close Combat, Drope Peck because I didn't want to get worn down by having to click Brave Bird. Especially that was something I struggled with last match with Frostlass being a Close Combat switch in, making it really hard for me to click Close Combat, meaning I had to click Brave Bird a lot, and Brave Bird is really not that great into the rest of the team, so it tends to wear Zapdos down a lot. Brick Break to break screens from Alola Tails, and then U-Turn for Pivot. And then the last mon is going to be Drifblim Yachi with Unburden, so that I can get off a Trick Room as well as a Fast Explosion. I'm also Shadow Ball Defog just for rocks and damage in general. But the Trick Room is for the Gardecuno, which has no speed investment. It's actually min speed or like very slow, so that I can under Trick Room outspeed pretty much everything, including the Slush Rush mons. And Terra Blast Steel with Choice Specs does a lot of damage to pretty much everything. It almost OHKOs everything, except for the Bax and the Bear Tick once it Terras. Yeah. I was really tempted to go Terra Fire, which maybe would have been a little bit better. But I was scared about something on the bench that Terra Fire was not good into. I don't remember what it is now, but there was some reason why I decided not to go Terra Fire. But we can take a look at blue sets as well. He has an Icy Rock, Aurora Veil, Encore, Blizzard, Baton Pass, Ninetales, pretty standard. a Custap Avalug with Terra Ghost, Rapid Spin, Stealth Rock, Icicle Spear, and Earthquake. We have an Assault Vest Bear, Terra type Electric, because Electric is really, really good into me. Terra Blast, Icicle Spear, Earthquake, and Aqua Jet. We have a Weakness Policy Bax, Ice Shard, Dragon Dance, Icicle Crash, Earthquake, pretty standard. It's very bulky though, so max HP, max attack, very little speed. Then we have a Heavy Duty Boots, Frostlass, Curse, Blizzard, Thunderwave, and Thunderbolt. Curse is really interesting because on this set, since it's a ghost type, instead of lowering speed, raising attack defense, it cuts HP in half and puts a curse on the opposing Pokemon, which lowers its HP by 25% every turn. And then we have Jimmy Bundler, the Iron Bundle with Choice Scarf, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Hydro Pump, Flip Turn. Very standard stuff. But yeah, with that, we can just get into it. So I lead off with my Yachi Drifblim in order to prevent this Avalug lead, right? Because I can defog away rocks, I can Shadow Ball to two-shot it, and I can get up my Trick Room so that I can go into Articuno, immediately break for my Inamorous endgame, as well as my Yapta. So here I'm going to defog. Defog is also really nice, or I'm going to click Shadow Ball again, actually. And then I think I defog here. I keep clicking Shadow Ball, never mind. So I keep spamming Shadow Ball. My Yachi goes off on the Blizzard. Now I click defog to get rid of the Veil and get rid of rocks. Blue gets up the Veil once again. As I get up my Trick Room, I am encored into Trick Room, this was a really good play here because, I mean, I'm assuming it was to encore me into defog, it was to encore me into Trick Room, but by encoring me into Trick Room, it basically forced me to reverse my own Trick Room, and then now he can just go for a free Blizzard, and I don't really have a switch in, so I'm forced to sack my Drifblim here. Now I go into Articuno, Terra Steel, go for the Terra Blast, get a kill. Frostlass is the sack here. I do think Avalug was probably the better sack, and that's something Blue mentioned afterwards, that he probably should have just sacked Avalug here, since Frostlass is really good here with Thunderbolt and Blizzard, the Bolt Beam coverage, but he does end up sacking Frostlass to get a free switch into Bax. I go into my Corviknight here because my thought process is that I can pretty much live 2 of any attacks with my defensive investment. I can go for Iron Head Body Press damage, and that'll put me in a good range to survive with Articuno. Because I am at full, I do take a pretty strong Earthquake. I think +1 Earthquake I do live. And I can OHKO it with Terra Blast, as long as I have a bit of chip. I need Body Press or Iron Head chip. So that is my thought process. Icicle Crash comes out and actually two-shots me, which I didn't consider. I didn't think that it actually two-shot me, but it turns out it does. And I go for the Iron Head and activate its Weakness Policy. Now here, this would have been fine if my Masquerain was Focus Sash like it should have been. Because I would be able to live any one hit, go for Foul Play, take out the Bax. And we'd still have a game because Ninetales is really low. The Avalug is almost dead. Bundler is kind of an issue, but Articuno can always take one, and Terra Blast does OHKO it. And the real big threat here would be Beartic, which, I mean, admittedly is quite a large threat, but it definitely would have been a lot closer of a game. But now, because I am Scarfed, he is free to go for Ice Shard spam. Ice Shard does OHKO everything on my team, unfortunately, because except for Enamorous, which obviously gets Icicle Crash because he's faster. And then Articuno does not live the plus 3,000 Earthquake from full, unfortunately. And with that, Blue does, in fact, in a very anticlimactic way, get a 5-0 victory against me, knock me out of the playoffs, and advance to finals. So, congrats to Blue, and GG's. Yeah, and with that, we're going to go to the second match for the semifinals for Season 1. And this matchup is going to be Central with Mono Dragon versus Gradients with Mono Ground. So, looking at the pace, we do have a Choice Specs Latios from Central with Luster Purge, Flip Turn, Surf, and Ice Beam. We have a Rocky Helmet Defensive Flygon, a Miracle Seed Thick Fat Terra Bug Appleton with Leaf Storm, Apple Acid Recover, Grassy Terrain. Shookaberry Arcaldon, Body Press Mirror Coat, which is really cool, Iron Defense, as well as Roar. We have a Choice Scarfed Cyclizar with knockoff Ice Spinner, Rapid Spin, and Iron Head. Interestingly enough, he is running Shed Skin over Regenerator. And we have a Black Glasses Roaring Moon, knockoff Dragon Dance, Brick Break, and Iron Head. So interesting to see there isn't actually that much coverage to hit gradients super effectively. Actually, surprisingly enough, it's only like Latios and Ice Spinner on Cyclizar. So a bit of interesting brings from Central for sure. And then on Gradients side, we have Terra Fairy, Assault Vest, Sand Slash with Terra Blast, knockoff Rapid Spin, and Earthquake. It looks really, really good here under the... Unfortunately, there's no sand, which means that it doesn't get Sand Rush. But Terra Fairy, Terra Blast also still looks really, really strong here. Hits a lot of these mods very, very powerfully, and also allows Gradients to have a switch into Dracos or Dragon moves, which Central actually didn't bring. So we do also have a Thick Fat Piloswine for the ice moves with Earthquake, Ancient Power, Ice Shard, and Stealth Rock. We have a Pasho Excadrill Mold Breaker this week with Swords Dance, Earthquake, Rapid Spin, and Iron Head. Earthquake is really good with Mold Breaker to hit both Flygon and the Latios due to Mold Breaker allowing it to bypass their Levitate abilities. We have a Loaded Dice Gliscor, which is a fire set. Swords Dance, Scale Shot, Offensive with Earthquake and Stone Edge. So it'll be interesting to see how this set does here. I think Poison Heal is also interesting on this set. I think maybe going Hyper Cutter would have been cool in case there's any kind of attack lowering, but also it doesn't really matter in the end. We have a Focus Sash Torterra with Shell Smash, Giga Drain, Earth Power, and Outrage, which goes absolutely insane here if you can get up the Shell Smash. We have Ursaluna Blood Moon, which is also Assault Vest, with Blood Moon, Earth Power, Moon Blast, and Vacuum Wave. So definitely it's going to tank some hits, get off some Moon Blast, and do some damage. So with that, we are going to get into the match. So we see Central leading off with the Latias, as Gradients leads off with Torterra, goes for the Shell Smash. And this honestly puts Central in a really bad spot. If he didn't bring this Rocky Helmet Flygon, Outrage from here almost definitely sweeps. Like, he's forced to sack one Mon, for sure. He has to go into Arcaldon. And Arcaldon probably takes like 60-70%, at which point then he can go into pretty much any Mon, revenge it, and Gradients is up about like half a Mon or so. But also Gradients is in a really good offensive position because he gets to decide really the pace of the game with this first KO. However, Central does end up having this Rocky Helmet Flygon, which causes a double down, which allows Central to go back into the Latios, which gives him really good positioning as Excadrill comes out, which also that is a winning matchup for Gradients since it can just click Earthquake pretty freely here, which means that Central is forced to flip turn out. But that comes with a bit of an added benefit of eating up the Pasho Berry so that the Surf later from Latios can do some serious damage to Excadrill. Now, as Excadrill pivots out here, as the Roaring Moon goes for a strong knockoff, Central gets the read on the Terra Fairy from the Sand Slash, goes for the Iron Head, and easily dispatches of one of Gradient's probably biggest threats in this matchup. Now, this Gliscor comes out to click Scale Shot, and Gradients gets a unfortunate roll of only 2, so the Roaring Moon does not end up going down. However, he does go for the Earthquake afterwards because he does outspeed now. Unfortunately, Arcaldon does come out for Gradients and is able to eat up the Earthquake, but Ursaluna comes in, takes a bunch of damage, but goes for Earth Power and Revenge kills back. Now Gliscor comes out on the Latios. We see Roaring Moon come back in. Honestly, I think here you just sack the Ursaluna. I don't really see a purpose of preserving it because you don't really outspeed anything. The only thing you could maybe outspeed is Appleton, but you can probably deal with Appleton with the Piloswine. And I mean, going into Gliscor here kind of puts you in a bad position because you know this Lottie is going to flip turn. While if you allow it to flip turn, then Central is forced into something like the Appleton, which gives you a really nice offensive momentum. You can go into something like maybe the Excadrill probably does a good amount of damage here. Piloswine is also pretty solid, and Gliscor can go up and set up a Swords Dance and probably do some really good chip with Scale Shot for something else to finish it off later. But I do see Gliscor come in with a flip turn. Roaring Moon comes out, goes for the knockoff here, very free knockoff. And this is where getting that 2-hit before on the Scale Shot really matters because Roaring Moon is able to get back in. If this Roaring Moon was not here, he would have been forced to go to probably the Scarf Cycle. And Scarf Cycle, unfortunately, is much weaker than this Roaring Moon is. And because it's so much weaker, Gray would have been able to easily take advantage of it going into Excadrill. Going into Excadrill at that point. And then either doubling to the Blood Moon on the Appleton, which would put him in a really good position because he gets a free Blood Moon off, which pretty much OHKOs probably everything on the team at this point. Or at least does like 70% to Alati. Probably OHKOs to Cyclizar and does like 50-60% to Appleton, depending on Appleton's investment. But unfortunately, the Roaring Moon does in fact survive, so Gradience is forced to sack off the Gliscor and go for the Ice Shard to revenge it. As Appleton comes in, and now this Appleton kind of just wins. Greg does go for the cheeky Ancient Power Omni Boost, then switches into the Excadrill, but at this point, Appleton just wins. And it kind of is game over for Gradience. I do think Gradience did underprep a little bit for the Appleton. As we see Blood Moon come out and do like 58%, yeah. So I do think Gradience might have underprepped a little bit for the Appleton, but unfortunately Piloswine is not going to be able to get it done here as Latios comes out. Choice Specs goes for the Surf and takes out the Piloswine. So with that, you have your two finalists, Central versus Blue, facing off well, they already faced off, but I will be recording that and it will go up in a few days. So very soon you'll be able to see the match between them for the first champion of season 1 of the GLCC. So GG's to both Central and Gradience. Really well played to both of them, and congrats for getting this far, as well as congrats to Central for advancing to finals. So with that, thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you guys at the finals.